All right. Well, we are live. Let me one adjustment here to my. All right. We are live here on YouTube and also on Facebook for our July 20th Washington WREIA meeting. I want to welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. And as people receive their links and emails and join us here online, I want to take a few minutes just to welcome everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. I think this is our fifth virtual meeting, so we're trying to get a little bit better every single month. I'm coming to you live from our world headquarters here in beautiful downtown Rockville, Maryland. Not sure where you are, but it's looking kind of dicey here. A little bit of rain coming, I think, a little bit of thunderstorms. Hopefully y'all have survived the heat. Our plan for tonight is similar. We're going to start out with a property profile, a property that we just acquired. And I see some of you are coming on. Good to see you, Mary. Russell, you got to call me offline. I gotta see how you're doing. I haven't talked to you in a while. But we're going to do the same kind of schedule tonight. We're going to talk about a property profile. Tonight, you're going to see a property that we just purchased. It fits in well with what we're talking about tonight, kind of how to get started in real estate investment. And also for those of you that are joining us that are already knee deep in the business, I'm going to certainly throw in some what I call growth factors, things that you can do to help grow your current business to keep accelerating going forward. And then we're also going to have our member of the month. This month, I interviewed Jason Jutila. I think you'll enjoy that interview. Jason's a very accomplished investor, realtor, contractor, so he kind of wears a bunch of hats. So I think you'll enjoy that. And then I'll come back live and I will go through our presentation tonight. No need, if you were thinking about it, to take a lot of notes, because with these virtual meetings, we have all the notes kind of ready for you on a link at the end of the meeting. You kind of download that, and I got some good things in there for you, so you can follow along with us that way. So we got a lot planned tonight. We got a lot of information. It's a great thing about these virtual meetings. There's not a lot of downtime, so we can cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. So again, thanks so much for joining us, and we're going to give it just a minute or two. Got to turn off my phone. My phone's ringing. That actually was an investor, so I'll have to follow up with him a little bit later. So let's get started. Why don't we roll the property profile again? This property really highlights a great property for new folks. It has a lot of characteristics of things that you're kind of looking for as you get started, and then we'll do the interview, and then we'll be back with you live. So again, thanks for joining us, and let's go ahead and roll that property profile, and we'll get this meeting started.
Hey everybody, this month's property profile really fits into what we're going to be talking about this evening, whether you're just getting started in real estate investment or if you want to grow your business. Now, this property was just purchased, and at some point in your real estate business, you're going to have to decide what technique you want to pursue. Maybe you want to be a long-term landlord. Maybe you want to buy, renovate, and sell, or maybe you want to just start out wholesaling property. And the property behind me fits well with any of those techniques. We bought this in the low hundreds, so you certainly could wholesale it for $10,000, $15,000, maybe $20,000. You could rent it long term and get appreciation and cash flow, probably rent for anywhere from $1,700 to $1,800. And you certainly can buy, renovate, and sell it. And that is what we're going to be doing. Again, we bought it in the low hundreds. We're going to be putting about $50,000 into the property, and we'll sell it. We just sold one late last year in the mid to upper 260. So we'll do very well in this property. So if you're just getting started, these are the types of properties that you want to be really searching out for. Properties that have different exit strategies. Maybe you want to buy, renovate, and sell, but maybe the market changes and you have to rent it for a period of 1 to 2 years. So you really want to focus on these types of properties where you have multiple exit strategies. And so this one is going to fit really well. Like I said, we just purchased this low hundreds. We're going to be putting in around $50,000. kitchen, bathrooms, furnace, windows, exterior landscaping, really heavy cosmetic upgrades to this property. And we'll sell it anywhere from 265 to a 269, a nice 3-level townhouse in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. So be on the lookout if you're just starting out for properties of this type where you have multiple exit strategies. And if you want to grow your business, again, you're going to have to start leveraging. You're going to have to be doing multiple deals. So you're going to have to be hiring more people or leveraging capital. So we're going to have a great evening tonight of talking about how you get started and then also how you grow your business. And this month's property profile fits perfectly into that discussion. Look forward to this evening's talk.
Welcome everybody to our July member profile. I want to introduce everybody to Jason. Jason, so say hello to the multitude of thousands of people tuning in right now.
Hello, people.
All right, so if you've been tuning in with us for the past few months in our virtual meetings, you know that we like to highlight a member at Washington REIA, and the goal of this is just for everyone to get to know each other a little bit, maybe a little bit more on a personal level. Again, if you've listened to me at any point, you know that I'm a big believer in networking. So this is just a form of that. And Jason, we're just going to start out with kind of what we ask everyone, just maybe a little bit about yourself, a little personal background.
So I guess the best way to describe myself now is I'm a full-time realtor. I also flip properties as well. In the last 18 months, I've done 5 flips, successful flips. My previous life, I was a contractor for 10 years. Started very much in the same vein that you did as a paint contractor, and then went into home improvement and additions and baths and things like that. So all along the way, it kind of has built up to where I am today.
Okay. How about family? Kids, wife, girlfriend?
Well, not all the above. So I have a wife. I'm 18 years or so. She's from Bolivia. And we have 3 boys.
Great. All right. How about outside of real estate? We always talk in real estate on this channel, but outside of that, what do you guys like to do?
What? There's something outside of real estate?
Yeah. Well, I can imagine with 3 boys, you're probably running around all the time.
Well, true. Actually, my wife, she's a goddess when it comes to that, because she runs around the soccer, all that stuff. I show up to all the games, that sort of thing. But we like to travel. That's what I find in this business is when you travel, you can sort of disconnect. You got to be geographically far away. But travel, I like to read a lot. But real estate, I mean, I do this stuff 60 to 70 hours a week.
That's what I tell a lot of folks getting started. I mean, you got to really love it to have success, and that's true about obviously any business. You've obviously done different facets of this. As you said, you're an investor, realtor. You've had a contracting experience. What would you say is the most exciting part? What do you maybe enjoy the most about the real estate game? And that can be kind of a tough question, but maybe just something you enjoy.
What I like the most is, like, for example, right now I'm in my latest flip at Liberty Mill. And I if I were to show you pictures of what this looked like with the holes in the roof, the rain coming in, me just previewing the property, I love to go into situations, and I've been into crack houses, things that are just so over the top, and to have that vision of, in my head, and some of the people out there might be like this. I didn't realize for a long time that I look at the end product when I'm walking into a house. And that is a unique characteristic that I didn't realize everybody didn't have that. And if you don't have it, that's okay too. You just have to have people on your team that have it. So I love to go into situations that are just, I've known you, John, 15 plus years, and you used to say, hey, the worse it smells, the best the best house it is.
Right.
Because there's money involved in that. But it's not just about money. It's about how do we make this amazing? And so that's what I've really loved in this business, because every house is different.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I can tell you've been doing it now for a long time. If you get old like me, you just really kind of just like the checks and you don't care about the renovation. No, I'm just teasing. How about for new people? I mean, we like to kind of, REIA is an established group. We have a lot of new people coming through the doors. Just maybe one piece of advice. I know, like all of us, you've had, great times and also some downtime. So maybe one piece of advice for new investors.
Well, the one piece of advice, and you were instrumental for me on this, is you got to find a mentor or even a coach. I didn't even know a coach. In real estate, I've had coaches before. And the flipping business, it's whether they do stuff directly with you or, in the future, that's what I want to perhaps help other people. The idea is you can get where you want to be by yourself, but if you find a coach or a mentor, you can get there a lot faster. And I can't tell you how many times I've run into realtors that don't understand the flipping game in terms of the licensing, the inspections, the permit, all of the things that are required that, it's amazing. So getting with somebody that has, you're only as good as the 5 people you surround yourself with. So you want to find out, look around the table and say, okay, who am I going to align myself with? Because that's how you're going to grow.
Right. And this is a little inside baseball. Jason is someone that I call on a number of times because as he mentioned in the intro, he has experience in the contracting field, and I'm always bouncing off ideas, and he with me too. So we get into some of my great conversations because, as he said, not every house is the same, and you're going to come across situations that you might not be familiar with. To have those resources, to have those people you can rely on that don't have any dog in the show, if you will, meaning that they're going to give you the best advice that they can give you. How about we always ask about. Go ahead.
I wanted to interrupt you for a second, though. When I tiptoed into this about 10 years ago, it was right around the Great Recession, and I fell flat on my face because everything imploded. To build back up to where I am now, back then, because I used to be a contractor, I thought, yeah, I can do this, right? There's a difference between going into a property knowing that, yeah, I can do a $100,000 renovation in 6 weeks, rather than now as an investor. And this is about maturity, and it's about surrounding yourself with people to walk into the same house and go, I could do that, but financially is it smart to do that? Right. And to really understand, and you and I have talked about this, John, on specific properties, what maybe to do. Maybe it's take down some trees. Maybe it's to fix a retaining wall that might get popped in an inspection. To understand, okay, when we go through this, just because we can, is it financially smart to do it all? Right. And to be selective on how we renovate houses. I mean, you do a very good job, and I do too. It's one thing to do a good job and a good product. It's another to go over and beyond so that it hits your bottom line. And that's an important distinction.
No, it's absolutely true. And some investors are always going to put in recessed lighting. They're always going to put crown molding. They're always going to, and in some houses you need to, but in other houses you might not necessarily have to, or you don't have the budget. I mean, it is still about a return on investment. Obviously, I know you agree with this. We have to do everything in a safe, workmanlike manner to make sure that the house is done correctly. How about Horizon? I've always asked people, because I'm always just kind of curious, what does 10 years from now look like? I know it goes fast, especially with those boys. You're going to be sending them off to college before you know it. So what does that 10-year horizon look like for you?
Well, if as I told you, I fell down hard 10 years ago, and now, to get to the top of the mountain where I was at that peak, I could have never believed that or understood that God had prepared me along the way of being able to go through that valley of darkness, so to speak, to be able to get to that peak and look out and go, oh, it was important for me to go through those struggles and problems. So now, when I say peak, I mean financially, professionally, I mean I've made the most money I've ever made. Now I go, wow, 10 years. I mean, I can't even imagine. I thought it would be retiring on a beach somewhere with a drink in my hand, but I don't think I'm going to stop working. I think it would be probably mentoring others, coaching people. I still like the idea of walking into houses and fix them up. I mean, I really do. So
that's great. And one of the great advantages of being in the real estate game is we can do that, right? We don't have to do deals a year. We don't have to do 10 deals a year. We might just end up doing 1 or 2 deals a year. So it's a great business to always be a part of. I also know you're involved with a very innovative real estate company as a brokerage and as an agent. I know you do quite a bit of business brokering other deals. Maybe just finally, to kind of wrap this up a little bit, maybe a piece of technology, as we're all still a little bit sequestered, maybe a piece of technology that you've been using in your real estate investment and or brokerage business you want to throw out to folks. Anything you can maybe suggest?
Yeah, so I want to tell you 3 key things. In terms of the brokerage, I'm part of EXP, a nationwide brokerage, and they have a platform called Rebellum, which you're going to start to see in the marketplace, where it's an online virtual campus, if you will. So it's easy to go on in the world, we call it, and talk to accounting, talk to HR, talk to my broker. Everything is all virtual. And so it's like Zoom, like we're doing, but kind of on steroids, where you have classes and auditoriums. I like using the SkySlope platform for all the contracts in real estate. But two other things that I think are important is Trello, which is Trello, to organize, specific vendors that go on a monthly, that you have to pay monthly. And then the other thing that I think is so critical that I do in my flipping business is, and it's going to sound stupid, but it's really email and really taking a schedule, like on a Word document of Monday, what are all the trades going to do, and making sure all the trades that are going to be working on your project, Monday the painters are going to come, Tuesday the cleaners are going to come, Wednesday the stagers are going to come, etc. Making sure that everybody knows how they're going to have, what their role is, what day they need to be there, and communicating that with everybody. And I find most flippers, they just let the GC decide and then wonder why. I mean, in all my flips, John, that I do from start, renovation to finish, 90 days. And that's from purchase to sale. That's so being able to schedule that work and getting it done is critical.
That's tight. And my hope for you is that they'll all be 90 days. I'm sure they won't all be that way, but no, but that's good advice. Jason, if people want to reach out to you, we always want to give you an opportunity to throw out your contact information, an email, a phone number, somehow,
Sure.
Facebook page, whatever you want.
Real simple. Jason Jutila, last name is spelled Jutila, Jutila. And my number is 301-525-6433. My email, and I'm a phone guy, so just call me. Don't text me, just call me. Email is Jason, Jason, Jutila, Jutila @gmail.com.
It's great. Brother, I could do this all night long, and I appreciate your time. And I know people will reach out to you. Folks, he's a great resource at Washington WREIA. So look him up, call him, don't text him, send him an email. He's, I know, more than happy to take your calls and try to help you out.
And one thing I'll say is I am on Facebook too. I do a lot of Facebook Live videos for renovations I'm doing just to help people see kind of that process. But reach out to me, send me a friend request, and
all right. I think it's great. We appreciate it.
We're back
live here. Sometimes the video didn't quite catch up, but I think I am back with you live. So again, want to thank everyone for joining us. And again, if you're tuning in, if you have a property that you want us to highlight in an upcoming WREIA meeting, please go ahead and get in touch with me. Text me or email me, get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to come out and highlight your property. And again, I want to thank Jason. We had a good time talking, and hopefully you learned a lot from him. Great resource. We have a lot of good folks that are walking around at our WREIA meetings. And again, it's great to be networking with those folks, use them as resources, use them for some of their experience in the business. And Jason's a great example of that. He wears a lot of hats: realtor, investor, contractor. So reach out to those folks and get in touch with them and see if you can do some business together. Again, tonight we're talking about a great subject, how to get started in real estate investment. And again, don't worry if you're already involved. We're going to also throw in some nuggets for you to grow your business. As we get started, though, one of the challenges of virtual meetings is just the energy in the room. There is no room. So I kind of want to know who's out there. So again, in the comment page, if you have any questions, we'll certainly answer those for you. Also, just get an idea of who's tuning in. One of the great things I've heard from different people across the country that we've kind of been in contact with have been joining us. So let us know where you're tuning in from. If you just type in your comments page, and also how long have you been in the business? Again, this is really geared toward people getting involved, but also, again, we're in the dog days of summer here in Washington. As you all know, it's been 100 degrees, 95 degrees, 98 degrees, and it's a good time to, again, step back. We've all had a little bit of time on our hands, but for those of you that haven't had a lot of success in real estate investment, tonight's presentation also is geared toward you. So you don't necessarily only have to be brand new. If you're involved and if you've been around WREIA and you've been around other groups and you haven't had a lot of success, tune in here tonight, really focus in, and I think you can pick up some things to really move your business forward. As I said, at the end, you can download the link, get all the notes for tonight's meeting. I want to start out with just a core principle of Washington REIA. And the reason I start this is because I find a lot of people are still being introduced to this business through get-rich-quick seminars. Now, again, they're not as many times in the ballroom as they were many years ago, but they're online. They're in different avenues where people are getting involved in real estate investment. And if you're getting started, one of our core beliefs at REIA is belief. And what do we mean by that? Number one, you really have to believe that this is a real business, all right? That is not late night TV. That is not make $1 million in a month. That it's a real business that people right here in Washington, D.C., in the metro area are doing every single day, and they're having success. So number one, belief that this is real, that this business can make you money over time. Jim, thanks for throwing that in the comment. Good to hear from you from Colorado. Number two, believe that others in your community are having success. All right. So right now that this just isn't all pie in the sky, right? That this isn't just something that maybe one person out of 1,000 people is having success. Real estate's been around forever, folks. People have been making money with real estate for many, many years. So believe that people right now in your own community are having success. Seek those people out. Seek them out. Buy them a cup of coffee. Do a little Zoom meeting. Get to know them, find out what they're doing, find out how they're having success, or maybe more importantly, find out maybe how they're failing in some cases. If you're around enough of these folks that are doing business, it's going to rub off on you and you're going to have a stronger belief. And then finally, you have to believe in yourself, folks. You have to have a very strong desire and an interest in real estate to succeed. I hope if you're listening tonight that you're not tuning in or getting involved in real estate just because you want to make a lot of money. Again, we all have to create an income. We all have to create a living. We all want maybe quote unquote the finer things in our life. We want to travel. We want nice cars, nice houses, send our kids to school, all the different things, have a nice retirement. If you're getting to be my age, all of a sudden I'm the old man in the room. So you really have to understand that you can do this. You have belief that the business is ongoing, belief that others are having success, and belief that you can have success, and that you are also able and willing to take the necessary steps. All right, let's move on. All right, again, a first couple of these slides, if you will, the little things that I want to talking about a little bit is getting us set up for getting started. The first thing that we have to do is we have to overcome this fear. Now, folks, I generate some information from a wise woman that's a part of our REIA group. And when I always ask her about, how to get started, what is holding people back? And she looked at me and she said, a big problem with folks is they have fear, right? That they have to overcome that fear, is that they're nervous that it's not going to work for them, so they don't even want to start. And we have to overcome that fear. That's the number one thing. That's what we pound that belief as a core principle of Washington REIA. Number two, you have to invest in yourself, folks. And I'm not setting you up for a $50,000 course on getting started in real estate investment. I'm not here to do that. But you do have to invest in yourself. And what I mean by that is you have to ask a lot of questions. You got to surround yourself with people that are involved in the business. And you have to ask for help, because there's going to become a lot of things, certainly early on, that you're going to be unsure of. And you have to have that support group, if you will, that community like a REIA or other groups that you can turn to get these questions answered. You have to be open. This is key. I see this time and time again. I do some mentoring. I do work with some people in the real estate investment community, and I see this in my own business. Folks, you have to be open to giving up your time and energy before you have any results. Let me explain that. When I first got started in real estate investment, and I'm working with a young lady right now, and her comment was, man, I never knew this was going to be so hard. Folks, it is hard. It does take time. I remember my first year, I was working my tail off, and I remember vividly talking to my father and saying, this is just not, it's not working. I made close to $90,000 that first year, but I felt like I worked as hard as I possibly could. And if that was going to take to make $90,000, it's just not worth it. And he actually was the one that told me, he said, listen, this is your first year. You're just learning these concepts. You're just building your network. You don't have a lot of capital. Give it time. And those words were very, very wise, is that you have to be willing to put in the hard work. You have to be willing to go through the educational process and go out there and try and fail a few times. But if you do that and set up and surround yourself with good people, you will have success. The young lady I'm working with right now is going through the same problem. That's great, Russell. She is spending a ton of time setting up systems, understanding what kind of techniques she's using, gathering data, getting her marketing material together. And her words to me is, this is really, really tough. And it is, but it's getting easier. And every week that we're talking and putting things in place, she's starting to see the big picture, and she's starting to see some results. So you need to be open to putting time and energy in before you get results. And then you have to commit. Folks, this is a commitment. You can't pick this up every now and then. You can't say, oh, I want to be really wealthy in real estate investment and only work an hour or two a week. It just does not work that way. Does not work that way. So you got to be willing to commit, and you got to put the time and effort into this business, and you will have success. Okay. Now, again, I want to go through a few of these things just so you can kind of check mark them off, and then we'll get into some other aspects of getting started. But over the years, now again, I've been doing this now for many years. All of a sudden, I woke up and I'm an experienced investor. But there's traits that I've seen working with WREIA for years, working with other people, seeing other investors out in the field and working with them and having partnerships. And there's traits of successful and unsuccessful investors. And this probably holds true in life in general, but let me just throw out a few. The unsuccessful investor expects negative results and focuses on problems and failures. They're constantly focusing on the problems and not how to solve those long term. They're very, very skeptical. Okay. No, that won't work. No, you can't do that. No, you can't find a non-performing note in this market. No, you'll never find a good wholesale deal to make 20, 25,000. It's too competitive. They always have a suspicion. They're always negative instead of being a little more open-minded to the possibilities. And again, the exact opposite. And again, I've written these down for you, and you can grab this link at the end of this meeting. The exact opposite is of successful folks, right? They're positive. They expect positive results. They get along well with people. You know, that's an interesting trait. They're willing to get along with contractors. They're willing to get along with sellers. They bond with lenders. They're always looking to network and putting things together. And they're people oriented, if you will, in this business. They're looking at long term. They're looking at the overall picture. They're not only focused on what's in store for them right now. We're going through a very difficult time for a lot of families, right? There's a lot of things going on, but let's look a little further down the road. Now, again, our hope is that we're going to have a vaccine. Our hope is that in a year from now, our lives might be a little bit back to normal. But in the meantime, what are the opportunities? How can we get better? In my experience, how I can get better on virtual meetings. How can I use this to reach more people if I want to do a little more coaching? Or how can I interact with sellers without having necessarily to go to their houses all the time? So we're always looking for those opportunities. We make decisions and we stick with them. That's vital. You can't be kind of willy-nilly, kind of, oh, should I do it? Should I not? You have to have a decisive mind in order to have success. And then they trust their support network. They surrounded themselves, and I keep coming back to this. We surrounded ourselves with people that we can trust and we can lean on, because I got news for you. If you're getting involved in this business and you think it's just going to be a pass straight up, it's not. There's bumps. There's always bumps. There's some great months where you're like, man, everything is clicking. This is awesome. This is a great business. And then there's months where you're just scratching your head and you're going, man, I can't get anything on paper. I can't find any good deals. I can't sell my deals. I can't raise capital. But again, as you stick with it and have that trust, you will do very well. All right, as we go through too, like we said, if you have a comment, if you have a quick question, Russell, I appreciate that acronym for FEAR. Anything that you can add to this meeting, feel free to do. It really helps us out. All right, for those of you just getting started, okay, the first step, your first step, yeah, that's true. I do have to be careful what I'm asking for. hopefully comments are along the real estate investment business. All right. Your first step is you got to figure out your role, right? If you're just sitting there and you're brand new and all this is fresh content to you, the first thing you got to do is you got to take a hard look at yourself. You got to understand where you are in your business life. How many hours a week are you working your full-time job if you're working full-time? What is your capital? Do you have a little bit of savings that you can put into a new business, or are you dead broke? And you got to figure that out because you got to figure your role. What are the roles, beginning roles as a real estate investor? I've broken it down to 4. And I think this is kind of widespread. You might have heard a few of these things. Number 1, if you have very little time, if you have a little bit of education, but not a lot, and you don't have a lot of capital, you're going to fall into what we call a bird dog, right? You're going to be a bird dog. And what a bird dog does is that it goes out, a bird dog goes out in the part-time, obviously time you can set aside for your business. And folks, I really think 3 to 5 hours a week might be a good starting time. But during those 3 to 5 hours, you're reading, you're understanding what you're looking for, and you're going out and you're gathering information, right? You're gathering information for maybe 2 or 3, 4 investors that you've met at a networking event. And you're taking that information and you're passing that on to an investor. So in other words, in my bird dog network, I tell all my bird dogs, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for houses that need work, right? Look for old blinds, look for landscaping that's way overgrown, look for paint that's peeling, look for old encasement windows, look for junk in the backyard. Any kind of signs of that, copy down the address, copy down anything you see, maybe click a picture or 2 and send it to me. And if I eventually buy that property, okay, if I eventually do a deal on that property, that bird dog will now generate a fee. That fee could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to really, honestly, if the deal is good enough and the profit is there, you can make literally $2,500 to maybe even $5,000 for literally just passing on a lead. Listen, I'd be happy to pay you $5,000 if tomorrow you pass on information to me on a property in Columbia, Maryland, and we go out and we secure that property, we renovate and sell and make $50,000. Why wouldn't I want to pay you $5,000? It's a free deal, a free lead. So a bird dog could be that role for just that really initial part, just getting your feet wet. You're not taking any risk. You're not putting up any money. You're not securing any property with a contract. You're just literally gathering information that after you understand what your investor is looking for and passing that information on. What a great, great part-time, low risk, great way to get involved in the business. Number 2, you might want to take a step further. Your education has furthered. You're getting a little bit more confident. Maybe you've done 1 or 2 bird dog deals and you want to be what we call a wholesaler. Now, again, I know a lot of you have read a lot about wholesaling lately, and some investors are going to this model solely. It's their 24-hour-a-day business. They're not holding property. They're not renovating property. They're not buying notes. They're just literally finding property, usually distressed, property that needs work. They're controlling that property with a contract. All right. And then they're taking that contract and they're sending it out to their database of investors for a fee. Now, that fee could be anywhere from $5,000 to a low to I've seen them upwards of $40,000 to $50,000. Literally, it depends on the deal. And one of the advantages of Washington, D.C. Metro is our properties are pretty expensive. And so the profit potential for that end investor could be very lucrative. So sometimes a wholesaler can make $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. I see it all the time. I would generally say the minimum is probably about 10 and the average is probably about 20. But $20,000 per wholesale deal. How many of those a month do you need to do to literally generate a very nice business? Again, you are taking a little bit of more risk because you're putting that house under contract. But if you learn how to do this with proper caveats or clauses, if you will, if you know how to structure this deal, you're really taking little or no risk. And there's ways to even do it with no money out of your pocket. So again, if you're ready to jump in a little bit more, get a little bit more education, understand analysis, understand what investors are looking for, understanding rental rates in the area, you could be a tremendous wholesaler and make a full-time huge living. There's some wholesalers, and I know some of you know them here in our area, that are making 7 figures and more, quite possibly. They're wholesaling 3, 4, 5, 7 properties a month. Their whole focus is identifying sellers, putting them under contract, taking that contract and selling it to other investors, either landlords and users or buy, renovate, and sell investors. Pretty good business. You might want to think about that as a role for you. Let's keep going. Let's go another step. And again, I have these down for you, and you can just download our link at the end. And by the way, I'm happy to work with you on any of these. Many of you know that I'm doing these mini mentoring, these 3 sessions, 1 hour on Zoom or in person if you're comfortable. I'm charging minimal $495 wherever you want to get started in real estate. Setting up your private bank, getting started in real estate, wholesaling, 1031 tax-free exchanges, self-directed IRAs, buying and selling notes, any subject you want, let me know. I'll be happy to talk with you about a little mini mentoring session. The next step is retailer. Now, what exactly does that mean? That is your buy, renovate, and sell guide. That is where I've kind of spent the majority of my time as a real estate investor. That's what I got introduced to. That's what excited me about the business, and that's where I generate my income, my revenue for my company. Now, I also hold properties for long-term wealth. I'll get to that. I also wholesale properties. Did very well last year wholesaling. Have a couple great ones this year. But the main bread and butter of my business of JBN Realty is buy, renovate, and sell properties. So in this case, you are taking a little more risk. You're going to identify those sellers. You're going to find these properties. I'm going to go through a list here in a minute, but you might have some bird dogs. You might have some wholesalers. You're also going to be sourcing deals yourself. Now you're going to take that property, you're literally going to settle on it. You're going to close on it. So you got to learn all about financing, right? How to raise private capital, how to do owner financing, how to work with banks, how to have credit lines, how to have credit cards for down payment. All the different areas that we talked about actually last month, you got to implement into your business. So you're finding it, you're securing it, you're closing it, and now you're updating it, you're renovating it. And again, there's offshoots of this. You can decide whether you want to be more like me, where I'm kind of a what I would call production retailer, meaning a lot of my properties look very, very similar. I'm in the same kind of price range. The paint colors are the same. The cabinetry is the same. The appliances are the same. The color of the wood floors are the same. We've kind of made it more of a production. Or you could be kind of a one-off. You could be one of these folks that want to buy in Georgetown and design it, and every single project is different. It doesn't matter. You're still what we call a retailer. You're buying, renovating, and selling. Folks, in this area, in the Washington, D.C. metro, you're probably looking at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 as an average profit after everyone's paid on a buy, renovate, and sell. Now, again, that's on more first-time home buyer type homes. That's not $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 houses down in DC. You certainly will want to make more if you're taking that kind of risk. But if you're in that $350,000 range, maybe in Prince George's County or Howard County or down in Prince William, maybe in Montgomery, Fairfax, you're making a little bit more. Again, things can go wrong. Sometimes you only come out with $20,000. Sometimes things can go perfectly right, and you make $70,000, $80,000. I had a bidding war this weekend on a property in District Heights. Kind of took me by surprise. And we got a $10,000 extra on the ask, and we also had no closing costs. So we literally made $20,000 more than we were anticipating in our initial analysis. So you never know, but you can do very, very well here. And again, come back with me. If you're just starting out, just like the property profile, doing one of these is great. $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 is a lot of money. Maybe you do 2 or 3 of those a year, and you have just a solid part-time income. Or maybe you decide, hey, this is something I want to jump in full-time, and you learn how to do 2 or 3 of these a month, and you start adding up these numbers. You can see where this can be a very, very lucrative business, and it has been for me and many, many others in the DC metro area. So you might want to become a retailer. Okay, you might want to skip being a bird dog wholesaler. You might want to jump right in to being that retailer, identifying distressed property, fixing up, and selling it. And then finally, this one is where the real wealth is, in my opinion, the real wealth of real estate. When you talk to guys in their 70s and 80s that are old, grizzled, and man, I'm heading there. I'm there faster than I want to be. But you know, they've been around a long time, and they're wealthy, meaning they have real wealth. And when you start talking to them, you're going to find out that they own real estate. They own residential property here in the area. They own some notes. They might own some pieces of vacant land. They might own a small commercial building or maybe a large commercial building. Folks, the real wealth in real estate is becoming a landlord, right? Is holding properties long term. And if you're just hearing this and you're just starting out, skip all the rest. Figure out how you become a landlord, how you can own real estate. Remember, you don't have to be the sole owner. You can have some partners. There's lots of different ways to structure these deals. Maybe you want to skip owning the townhouse in Gaithersburg and jump right to a 4-unit building in DC, or maybe a 50-unit building down in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm just throwing out a market in general. But owning real estate is the real wealth. Why? Well, you get cash flow, right? Every month, if you're buying the property right, that extra money is going into your bank. You're also getting depreciation, meaning on your taxes, you can write off a lot of your income due to depreciation of the property. You're getting appreciation, meaning hopefully the property over time is growing in value. Hey, folks, I had one that I'm refinancing this week. I bought it for $100,000 in 1999. Now, that might seem like a long time ago, and it does to me too. It's 20 years. But that house just got appraised for $780,000. So literally that house has gone up 8 times in 20 years. How many of those do you need to have some real wealth? And all along from day one, that property has spit out some positive cash flow. Now, not a lot, not huge. Our properties around here are expensive, but it's spendable cash, money that we can use for other things in our lives. So being a landlord could be a great, a great opportunity. And again, if you're already involved in the business, this growth factor thing I was talking about, and you're not new and you already done many, many deals, folks, if you want to expand your business, maybe look at these: bird dog, wholesale, retailer, landlord. Those are 4 just basic ones. And there's so many offshoots from this. Obviously, there's so many different ways to make money in real estate investment. But maybe if you're a retailer, like I've been, okay, maybe to grow, maybe you say, hey, this year I'm going to focus on it and I'm going to wholesale 5 properties, and each property I want to make a minimum of $15,000 to $20,000. Folks, that's another $100,000 to your bottom line. What could you do with another $100,000? Maybe you pour that into marketing. Maybe you pour that into a 2 or 3 new rental properties, or 1 rental property. Maybe you go pay for a college education. There's so many things obviously you could do with that. So by adding some of this, you might be able to grow your business. Or if you're out there and you're wholesaling and you're making good money and you don't own any real estate, you own your home and that's it, folks, I encourage you, you're missing the boat. You need to own a little bit of real estate long term. Once you've done that, you're going to identify opportunities, right? You're going to identify those opportunities. We're going to get to that here in a minute. You're going to analyze the numbers. You're going to have a system to analyze numbers, whichever area you pick, whatever role. You're going to raise capital. We talked about that last month. And by the way, there's still a link that you can download that presentation. You're going to raise capital. You're going to execute that deal, right? You're going to go and do whatever you got to do. You're going to fix it. You're going to wholesale it. You're going to gather that information, pass along. You're going to put the renter in the property. You might property management if you're holding it. You're going to be writing contracts. You're going to be renovating it. All these things you need to learn as you're getting involved in real estate. It's a lot, but you don't have to learn everything before you start, right? You can identify 2 or 3 investors this week. They're easy. I'm one. I'm sure I can refer you to 2 more. Jason's 2. You already know 2. All right. You could already, call us up, email us, text us. We can let you know things we're looking for. You can bird dog next week. We can set you up right away. You can get a little more education in wholesale. So you don't have to wait. You can always start making some money. Once you've done that, that's my hope, is that you'll figure out what you are, okay, who you are and what role you want to play right now today. This can change. You don't have to be a wholesaler for life. You don't have to be a bird dog for life. You don't have to be, you can be any of these for life, but you got to pick one and you got to start. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to pick a geographical area. And why do I say this? Folks, I've worked with a lot of people, and the people that have had the most success, pick a geographical area, and they get to know that. They get to know what values are. They get to know what that first-time home buyer is looking for to spend money in that zip code or county. They understand rental rates. So when a lead comes along, all right, and let's say you've picked Riverdale, Maryland, okay, in Prince George's County, and Riverdale and surrounding areas. Well, as you get to know those neighborhoods and you get to understand what the values are, when that lead comes, and let's say the value for a first-time home buyer in Riverdale is $300,000, and you can buy something for $165,000. Yes, it needs work. You're not going to hesitate. You're going to say, hey, this is a great deal. I can wholesale this, or I can bird dog this, or I can buy this. You need to get good understanding, good knowledge. And folks, with online resources, It's everywhere. It's not hard to do. You just spend some time in front of the screen and you can gather all this great data to get to know areas. But pick an area. I would say a county. Just start with a county. And if the county is like Prince George's County, maybe you go Southern PG or Northern PG. If you're picking Montgomery, maybe Southern Montgomery, Northern Montgomery. And as you grow and get comfortable, you can then expand out a little bit. But start somewhere. Start somewhere. Okay? Once you become comfortable with that area, you're going to start generating these leads. Now, again, growth investors, people that are already started. If you want to grow, this is very simple. Just expand your territory. Expand your territory a little bit. I have a good buddy that's an investor down in Charles County. He's always complaining, they're so competitive down here. I said, well, how many deals are you getting out of Charles County? He tells me, and he's got certain revenue numbers. I says, great. Why don't you expand yourself by one county? Well, I don't know that county. I don't know anyone there. Well, maybe take some time to do that. Build your contractor network in another county, or ask your contractors to go a little bit further. Find out values in that county. Start generating leads in another county. You'll watch your business double. You can watch it double. Yes, it might take you a little bit of time, but it will grow. So again, if you're stuck, if your revenue is kind of in neutral and you want to grow, now some people don't want to grow. Some people are comfortable making X amount of dollars and they got a good system and they're very happy, competent in that. That's great. You don't always have to grow, right? You can just perfect what you're doing and enjoy your life. There's something to that. Okay. The next thing I want you to do. All right. So you figured out your role. You figured out your geographical area. It's great. You can all do this week. This is not rocket science. And the next thing you got to do, it's going to take a little more time, but it's very, very important, is you want to build your network, right? You want to build that network. And let me throw you a few that you want to. Now, it depends on your role, but it's never too early to start. But again, you're going to want to find good contractors, right? If you're going to be a buy, renovate, sell person, you got to have good contractors. You got to have property managers if you're a landlord. All of us need to know realtors, right? Realtors are a source of leads. We all need to know good realtors in our counties. Private capital investors, we talked about that last month. Finding private people to invest in your business. Title companies, loan officers, wholesalers, folks, all these people you can begin to get to know. Now, how do you do that? Again, networking online. I'm going to say that more now than networking in person, because as a lot of you know, some of that is kind of cut off. We're not getting together in big groups, but you can do that so well online, and you can begin building this database of people and see the advantage of just focusing on a small area. If I'm focused on southern, I don't know, Montgomery County, for example, okay, I can find title companies there. I can find contractors that work in that area. I can find wholesalers that are active, that are looking for investors to wholesale their deals to that area. I can find realtors and property managers. It's so much easier if you really kind of condense it and then focus in. And when you talk to your private investors, hey, I'm focused in on Southern Montgomery County. These are the values of properties there. This is this person. I got a good contracting crew ready to go. Folks, you're ready for success. You're building up that belief. You're building that momentum that is going to take in order to have success in this business. Instead of just taking a weekend seminar, they just download you with information. You don't know where to go, where to start, no resources in the area, nobody to talk to, and you expect to have a success. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So listen to some of these things, take these action steps, and I assure you, you will start gaining momentum and getting traction toward that ultimate goal of obviously doing deals. All right, what have we done here? We have figured out, first of all, we have belief, right? We have belief that we can do well in this business. We've overcome our fear. We've gotten away from our family and the dream stealers in our life that's saying, you can't do this. It was like I had. I've told you this story maybe many times. When I first bought my first tape set, I got all excited. I spent $500. I went the next day. I was working with my brother at the time in a painting contracting business. And I remember so excited to get there that day and tell him about this tape set and how I was going to start buying property, and look at me and say, you're never going to do that. You're crazy. You should go back to school. You should go back and get your MBA or do this, or, you seem to like selling. Why don't you go sell something? And he totally tried to steal that from me. And I'm glad I didn't listen to him. He's my older brother. So there's that hierarchy in the family. But, now 20, 25 years later, he finally believes, right? And he's invested with me, and he owns some real estate, and he understands how the business works now more. So get away from those folks, right? So you're overcoming fear. You're getting away from the dream cities. You figured out your role in real estate. You figured out your geographical area. You're building your network. Man, see, that's momentum. You're getting there. Now you got to generate leads, right? Now we got to start figuring out where are these leads, where are these distressed properties, where are these distressed owners, and you're going to do that through, excuse me, vacant houses, stressed landlords. Again, all this is in a packet that we have for you to download. Realtors, direct advertising, internet marketing, bird dogs, wholesalers, data mining. Data mining is a big one right now, right? Is using artificial intelligence data mining to identify motivated sellers, motivated property, and you're going to start marketing your services toward them. That's an exciting area of marketing right now in the real estate investment business. The courts, evictions. You think evictions are going to be popular? Now, some of you might be facing that. Hey, and if you're facing a tough time in an eviction, you need a sounding board or someone to work through some things, let us know. Let me know. Be more than happy to talk to you about that. Folks, we've all been there. We've all had times in our life where we're facing some really big hurdles. Reach out to folks. Be a little vulnerable. More than happy to help you with that. Let's talk through it. Let's figure it out. Let's see where we can generate a little bit of money in order to get you back on track. But evictions are going to be just booming in the next few months. Divorces, estates, right? The whole foreclosure process. There's 6 steps to that. Areas to invest in. Auctions, online and also on site. Database, network, your professional network, your social network, your personal network. All these areas are ways that you can generate these leads that you got to get comfortable with, and you got to start marketing your service. You're no different than a Chinese restaurant or an internet marketing firm or a dry cleaner down the street. You have a service, you have a product, and you want to broadcast that. You want to market that service out to your audience. As soon as you know that audience, then you can start crafting that message and sending out your message to that audience. And folks, it's not hard once you understand where you're looking and what you're doing. And all those things I just mentioned. When people say, "Oh, it's so hard to find deals." Is it hard to find deals in the Washington, D.C. metro area? Yes, it's competitive, but it's not as competitive for people that are spending time and energy and effort in their marketing, right? And reaching out to all these different groups and have this kind of machine going, and it's consistent. You will get leads and you will get deals. Growth investors. This is simple, right? You know where I'm going with this. If you want to generate more business, bump up your marketing budget. Spend more money on marketing. Forget about everything else. Really look hard at your business. Make sure you're executing your deals and you're squeezing as much profit as you can out of each deal. And then go to your marketing department. What are you doing to generate deals? Can you get more educated on a couple different avenues to generate more deals? So when that phone rings, can you take that lead 3 or 4 different ways? Do you understand mortgages and how to buy them, right? Do you understand how you can find deals from your network, how to extract those, how to be in touch with that network on a constant basis? So all these things can be that growth factor, okay? Thanks, Mark. I see that on the screen. Absolutely, Mark. You're right in that, building that network, building that database, right, and having that good real estate title attorney and real estate attorney is a part of that. So thanks for that comment, folks. As I said, if you have questions, you can throw them out. We have a little bit more. I'm going to kind of throw a little bonusing in here for you. I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, as we go online and virtual, sometimes I don't know the reaction. Some of you might be doing laundry. Some of you might be watching TV while you're watching this. I don't know, but hopefully this has been helpful to you. I wanted to give you a few other little tidbits here as we move along. This is kind of an odd thing, but I think we can all learn from this. In my experience, I want to show you the kind of the roadblocks or the mistakes. Very common that the new people make. So I want you to stay away from this. Number 1, don't overanalyze. I call this the engineer syndrome. Now, I've worked with a lot of folks over the years. Fortunately, I don't fall into this category, all right? But the engineer syndrome is someone that just want to analyze, and they never pull the trigger. They can't pull the trigger. Now, I'm not saying that you don't analyze, because you do. You have a systemized way, no matter what you're looking at, to analyze a deal. And if you get that green light, in other words, those numbers, they don't lie. If they make sense, you pull the trigger. I had this weekend. I was down 5:30 on a Saturday evening looking at a property, and it was tight. And as I'm driving home, I'm thinking, gosh, I just got to go back to my numbers. Numbers don't lie. I don't want this deal too much. And I plugged those numbers in, and I thought, you know what? I can make this work. These are some of the things that I do not have to do this house in order to make it sell. Now, again, I don't skimp on anything safety wise, but we can make that work. But I just went back to the analysis. I just went back to the numbers, and I called the person later and said, let's go, let's move this deal forward. So if you have a proper way to analyze deals and you know what you're looking for in your profit margins, you can make quick decisions. So don't be that engineer syndrome, the Lone Ranger syndrome. I want to do everything. I don't need any help. Mark Rosenberg just made a comment of you need a good title attorney, maybe an attorney to help you structure deals. Absolutely true. You need help. We need to surround ourselves with other people. We can't do everything ourselves. And if you do, you're going to fail. If you do, you're going to fail. You need to build that database. You need to build that team around you in order to help you out. Number 3, this is a big one, and that's what I talked about for the investors that want to grow: mediocre marketing. Folks, we're all a product of this. Sometimes we get deals going and we forget about our marketing budget, and we get lazy and we get complacent and we say, wow, why doesn't this work? Folks, I got a box of postcards, and I'm telling you, whoever made these postcards and their marketing postcards, they're horrible. They're just no thought to it, no message, just, I buy houses for cash, any condition, settle in 7 days. Well, folks, if you never differentiate yourself, and there's ways to differentiate yourself, you're going to get poor results. And they're just throwing their money out the door. Okay. And I get one, and then that's it. Right. They obviously haven't tested anything. They obviously haven't spent any time with someone that really understands marketing to really get that message across, or they're not spending any money on marketing. And folks, when you don't broadcast your services and products out to the world, no one's coming. Why do you think McDonald's keeps advertising? How many people have not heard of McDonald's? But they're constantly doing promotions. They're constantly coming up with different marketing, not schemes, but marketing plans to get us in the door. Okay. And yeah, as you can see, I've been in the door too much here lately, but mediocre marketing. Don't be a product that. Have good, strong marketing. Understanding seller motivation. All right. I haven't had a lot of time to expand. This is an hour-long virtual meeting, but understanding why that person wants to sell that house. Is it the person that's motivated, or it's the house? Now, the house I was at Saturday evening around 5:30, man, it was the house. These folks just chewed up this house. They'd only owned it for 5 years. It was completely renovated 5 years ago. Whew, it was rough. It was rough. So the house is motivated. Now, again, they didn't have the money or time or energy to fix the house up, and that's why they're selling it at a discount in order for us to come in and do that and make a fair profit. So understanding that seller motivation. And you do that, and it's a process. You do that with spending time and asking questions and structuring that deal in order to meet their needs. And then lastly, I see this so much, just unprofessional businesses, people that are just working out of their cars. They're meaning they're not really in business. They're kind of treating it as a hobby. They're trying to make a quick buck. They're not really treating it as a business. They're always late for appointments. They never follow up. They maybe throw one postcard because they went to a weekend seminar on direct advertising, and it's really not a business. It's just more or less a hobby. So if you're just interested in a hobby, sure, you might get lucky, but most likely you'll be out in 6 months and looking at the next internet marketing business, or looking at the next multi-level marketing business. Who knows what you'll be into next? Maybe options that's coming around a lot as people are sequestered and trading in options and whatever. But if you're interested in the real estate business, treat it as a professional business. And then finally, I want to give you a skill set that all of us, newbies and experienced investors, if you want to grow your business or you want to get started in this business, this is the skill I would tell you to spend a lot of time on, and that is negotiation. Learn how to be a good negotiator. I'm going to throw you out a book here that I'd like all of you to get. It's very inexpensive. You can get it on audio, or you can get the physical book. And some of you have heard me recommend this book before. It's called Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher and William Ury. Get a book on negotiation. Learn how to be a good negotiator. Folks, I can't tell you how much money I've made over the years working with realtors that are bad negotiators. Really, they're don't even know anything about negotiation, and they're really not representing the client or the property very well. But if you learn how to negotiate, there's so much you can do with that, with contractors, with sellers, with private investors, with all the people that you come in contact with. If you can get very good at being a good negotiator, you're going to do very, very well in this business. And I just threw out in our link here kind of a crunch list, something that if you go through, you might have a little bit of fun with. Maybe practice it on your kids or your spouse, and try to become a good negotiator. That is a skill set as a real estate investor, if you will. If you get good at, you're going to be extremely happy, and you'll be surprised at how many folks out there are not. So, questions. Does anyone have any questions for me as you're getting started in real estate investment? Now, I understand there's so much more to this than just an hour presentation. Okay, that there is a lot of holes to fill, educational holes that you have to fill. But if you follow some of the things that I went through, if you download our notes and you walk through it and you read it and you start taking some of these steps, I assure you, and again, this does not have to take 6 months, 8 months. You can get started in the next 30 days. Do some of these steps that I talked to you about, and you'll see yourself moving forward in the next 30 days. Shoot, you might even have a check in your hand in 30 days if you really would enact some of this, if you just wouldn't read it and then put it down. So go ahead and get that link. Now, if I can help any of you, I do have some of these mini mentoring sessions. I'm more than happy to get a lot of you in the right direction. Okay, in the right direction. So if you want that, you can just go ahead and it'll be on the screen where you can just type in coaching or mentoring. You can send me an email. You can send me a text. I'd be happy to get in touch with you. Go ahead and we can schedule that and get started. We did some last month with private money, raising some private money. We had some great success with that. Again, if people would take some of these simple steps, you're going to see great growth in your business. And finally, I want to throw out something too. If you have any questions, let us know. Just type them in the comments. Be happy to answer those. And again, I realize that some of these come in afterwards. They come in afterwards, and I'm more than happy to follow up with you. Back in March, when all this stuff hit, right, and we all didn't know where the world was going, we thought by the fall, according to the experts, by the fall, we were thinking that schools would be back in session. Certainly football would be played. Some of the sports would reenact, and we kind of be back to going on maybe a little bit more normal than we are. But as we go toward fall, we see that things are still very upside down. It's anxious times for a lot of folks because we don't know what the future holds. But back in March, I said a few things. Number one, I said that the biggest challenge of COVID-19, besides getting it, right, besides our family members and keeping us all healthy and safe, was the mental aspect of going through a turbulent time. And I still honestly believe that. And I think a lot of the kids, and one of the downsides of not going back to school, you have a lot of kids that are very isolated. It's not good for them, and also us. I miss seeing you guys, and we got to keep our mental aspect. Surround yourself with good material. Don't get mirrored in the news all the time. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. I know some of you really enjoy politics. I like politics too, but just try to keep your focus on your business, on your little economy, on your family, and really work toward looking for the opportunity. The other thing I told you about was the opportunity that I saw immediately was looking at performing and non-performing notes. I felt like non-performing notes was going to come back with a vengeance. Not that it disappeared, but that non-performing notes was going to be something that we were going to see. And folks, I've been networking hard, reaching out to my network, reaching out to attorneys, reaching out to banks, reaching out to a lot of folks to come up with some non-performing notes. And I bought some. And I want to just let you know, this is a ways away. This is about 2 months. It's going to be probably the 19th and 20th September. If you're interested in a note class, just text me, let me know. I've got a couple great non-performing notes I want to share with you. We're going to do a class on this, how to find good notes, how to find performing, non-performing notes, how to analyze notes, how to buy pieces of notes, how to find investors for notes, all the aspects. We're going to be having this training at one of the properties. We're going to socially distance. We have a great setup there where it's a 20-foot room with plenty of ventilation. We're going to have all the protocols there. We're going to keep it very, very small. But if you're interested in notes and you want to, I'll answer that in a minute for you, Linda. And if you want to get involved in those, just text me. I'm just taking a waiting list. We're going to have about 10, 12 people. I will call you personally. I'll tell you the pricing and so forth. It's really going to be, you're going to be amazed at some of these notes that I've been buying. And the profits, the potential profits of these notes are staggering. And it's going to be around for a while. So you're not too late to the party. But this is a unique opportunity right now to get involved in the note business. Now, Linda, great question. Wholesaling and bird dogging. The only difference between wholesaling and bird dogging is in wholesaling, you're actually taking one step further and you're looking, you're going to secure the contract. With bird dogging, you're just gathering information, okay? Gathering information, and you are passing that information on to the investor. So you're not taking any risk. You're not controlling any real estate. You're just gathering information, passing the investor. Therefore, your profits will be less. With wholesaling, you're actually meeting with the owner on some level. You're controlling that piece of property. You're putting it under contract with the ability to assign that contract for a fee. In that way, you're going to start seeing your profits go up substantially, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 per deal, depending on the profit spread, right? And depending on the profit potential for the end investor. So there's a big difference there. Some of the skills are the same, but taking that next step and understanding contracts, understanding how to control that contract with little or no risk, understanding how to find other investors to wholesale that property to, takes a little more education, a little more time, a little more energy than just gathering information and passing on to the investor. So I hope that helps you. Russell, I saw that comment about virtual real estate. And again, I don't disagree with that in that this bump, if you will, is going to lead to innovation. It's going to lead some of us doing things more remotely. It's going to lead people working from their house in some cases. I've known people that said their jobs are going fully virtual, which they never believed that in a million years. What does that do? Well, that affects transportation. That affects the mom and pop coffee shop by the office. That affects so many different trickle-down effects to the economy. So we're going to have to see where all this takes us, and hopefully we can adjust and we can find opportunities and we can keep moving forward. Folks, thanks so much for joining us. Again, if you want some mini mentoring, let me know. If you want to be part of our notes class in September, let me know. And if I can answer any questions, we're open for business. We're having a good solid summer. We're going to get really busy here this fall. So look forward to talking with you offline. And again, I thank you so much. Leaving a comment or two on Facebook that you enjoyed it or on YouTube is not hurtful. That helps us out. Gather more people in the network and database. You know, I'm a big believer in that. So I appreciate and if you didn't like it, hey, let us know too. That's fine. We're always looking to improve this and get better at our virtual meetings. Again, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll be back with you. We are not taking August off. Many of you thought we're taking August off. We are not. We'll be back with you in August, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. So take care. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk with you soon.